when I look back on how things were when I was coming up in school, um, students seem to have a more genuine uh, uh, thirst for education. And it seemed to be very important to us at that point. Um, Now, this generation that I'm looking at now is a generation that seems to take education for granted. And that's an issue that I believe as parents that we must take and reinforce and try to get our children back on that course because education is very important. As a bus driver, I see things and hear things on the buses all the time that disturb me. A lot of times I just wonder why children go to school. And, you know, they talk about going to school and seeing what other people have and concerned about issues that are not germane to what they're trying to do. And, you know, I try as a bus driver as well. I do use that as a platform um, to talk to students and, you know, try to encourage them. You know, listen, you know, all of that stuff is secondary. You go into school, you should focus on that because we're living in a day and time where competition is very fierce. We're living in a world global economy. So without the education, it's going to be difficult for you to compete for some of these jobs. You have to take that into consideration. School is not a playground. So when you go to school, you need to focus. You know, yeah, I understand that there's some issues that you do deal with in school. Um, Teachers are human. You know, they have feelings too. And, you know, it's your job to go in and get an education, focus, and think about your future. Don't just go to school and just waste time. That's precious. You know, when you get my age, you look back and you think, wow, I wasted a lot of time. I wish that I could have that time back. You can't. You cannot turn the hands of time back. So, you know, I would encourage you to take this time and really, really get the education while it's free. I was one of those individuals that did have a learning disability. And I probably used it, like many students probably today, as a way to justify some of my behavior. I wasn't a problem child or anything like that, but I did use it as an excuse. I had some comprehension deficiencies, but um, I believe, especially now that I do a lot of reading, that had I focused, I would have been able to overcome that because it's primarily you focusing and wanting to make uh, a difference and really have a hunger. I think that's got to be a key. You got to have a desire. I did have a parent that was very instrumental, but you know, when you become a teen, you become very independent, and some things you just got to strike out on your own. Um, you know, when I look back, some of the things that my father had taught me, I think I wish I can go back and change some of those things. Um, for one, um, I didn't do too bad with my GPA, but I really wish that I would have focused probably more in my freshman year, which probably would have made a difference. And if I could go back, you know, after now looking back, uh, I would strive to really focus on improving my GPA because I think had I done that, um, I would have pursued college a little harder than what I did. I did go to college, but unfortunately, I dropped out after a semester at that time was junior college, Grahams Junior College, and I left and I went to Atlanta, Georgia. Um, and then I did attempt to go to school there, but that just didn't pan out. Some family issues, came back here. Um, uh, couldn't decide what I wanted to do, so I joined the United States Navy. I did that for 3 years, and after that, came back to Grand Rapids and bounced around from job to job for a little bit. So I landed this job working for the Rapid, 18 years this year coming up. Didn't do too bad in life, but I can tell you this, if I had it all to do over again, I would have pursued, I mean, it's not too late now, but I would have pursued school even more aggressively before I had responsibilities. It's very difficult when you become my age, you have a family. Not to say that it couldn't be done. It becomes very difficult. And if I could speak to young people right now, I would tell them that this is the time. You know, take this seriously. You don't want to get to my age, have responsibilities, and decide, oh, well, you know, maybe I decide to go back to school. It becomes difficult. You know, your focus is not quite there. So I would encourage you to really buckle down and get it out the way, you know, while you still have time, because you don't want to wait, you know, if you can do it at all right now. My dad was a unique individual. Well, actually, he was my grandfather. He raised me. My biological father passed when I was 2, so I was blessed to be raised by my grandfather, the late Reverend Isaac Morgan. He was a unique individual. He dropped out of school, but he did eventually go back. He went back and got his GED. He later decided that, you know, he was going to try to do some manual labor. He did that for a while. He bounced around from job to job for a little bit, decided that wasn't for him. He's married, 6 kids. He decided to go back to school. He became the first African American male nurse out of the Grand Rapids Community College. That's on record. He did that. He had a challenge. A friend of his also, I guess, I believe, dropped out of school, and they both went back to school. One became a doctor. He just retired, I believe, a couple years ago, Dr. Mathis. So they kind of, you know, propped each other up and encouraged each other to go back to school, and they did. And I took that, and that was something great. And I looked at him as my hero because, you know, he had 6 children, and he took it upon himself to go back to school to become a licensed practice nurse. And he did that, and he did it with honors, and he took care of his family. And I thought that was commendable. And now, you know, I try to pass these things on to my children and try to encourage them, you know, we're here now, you know, you got our support, we love you, we want to make sure you get some education. That should be your focus right now. And we're worried about everything else later, you know. So, yeah, that was an individual that I really, really admired. Really admired. So.
Thanks for sharing that. What happened tonight? Can you tell me what tonight was all about?
Oh, I thought tonight was very awesome. I thought the fact that we were, as parents and as school officials, came together. We're able to talk about some of the issues that that the schools are dealing with. I thought it was awesome that the parents could relate to the teachers some of our concerns and issues concerning our students, and what we as parents could do to assist them. And I think the school officials heard us. They responded very well. It was a positive experience, and I think we all were able to walk out of here feeling a little bit more confident and fired up to do what we need to do to get our students on track. And I really hope that this is something that they can continue to do. Like I said earlier, communication is the key. Without communication, you really don't know where you are, and you can't help one another unless you communicate. So I thank you guys for putting this on. I really do. I think the children enjoyed it as well. Well, first and foremost, I would have to say the parent. As I said earlier, the education begins at home. It's the parent's responsibility to instill these principles in our children, instill the value of education, and to encourage them that, there's a lot more opportunities out there beyond high school, and college is a great tool. And we have to encourage them to look at college. So many of our kids become very relaxed with the fact that, after we graduate from high school, that's it. And go out into the world. We can't allow that to happen. I think we need to encourage them that, you should take this a little bit further and see what's offered in school. Not everyone, I understand not everyone is cut out for college, but we have to at least encourage them to try. And I believe once they do try and that they get into the college and they experience that wonderful world, because it's a great opportunity. Once you get there, it's a great feeling. And you see individuals like you. I think once you get there and you meet these individuals, it becomes a community, and that helps help you to focus and make you want it even more. So first and foremost, I think it's the parent. I like the fact that the schools have a program such as GEAR. I think that's a wonderful program, and I think the combination of the two can really have a great impact on our children and encourage them. My daughter, she's fired up. On the way over here, we talked about college, and she shared with me that she's interested in Calvin College, the music industry. And so I'm delighted. So yeah, I would definitely say the parent, and then I like the fact that the schools are behind us, and the schools also encourage children to look at college. It's all about encouraging. It's good for us to communicate with people. Some people are looking for, as one person said earlier today, some validation. As a matter of fact, there was a gentleman that used to ride my bus probably a couple of summers ago. High school, and he was trying to decide what he was going to do. And we used to talk every morning. I said, man, you seem to be bright. I think you can do something in life. You ever thought about going to college? He said, well, I thought about it, but I wasn't sure. And so the other day, I went into an office supply store. Hadn't seen this young man in a couple of years. run into him. He said, I'm in college. I'm going to CC. So it does work. You plant the seed, someone adds a little bit of water, it grows, it becomes a beautiful flower. So I do. I believe that it's everybody's responsibility. And that village concept is a great concept. So I think if we want to see a better world, we need to communicate, us older folks, okay, with the younger folks. That's where the change is gonna take place. If we sit back on our hands and, remain silent, sure, we're gonna have some young people that's it's gonna fall in on deaf ears. That's expected. I mean, you got older folks that same situation. But if you don't try, you don't make the effort, change can't come about. So, it's necessary for us not to just, sit back and say, okay, well, my communicating with this young person is not going to have an effect. Well, you don't know that. You don't know that. A lot of times you don't see it, until years later, like I just mentioned to you earlier, and for me, that was a wonderful feeling. This young man decided to go to college. Hadn't decided what he wanted to be, but he's in there, and that's all that matters. You plant the seed and watch it grow. And it's going to benefit all of us at some point. That's what I believe.